You know, have you ever really stopped to think about who would be in your corner if everything just fell apart? We're about to dive into a story that really gets to the heart of that question. It's a powerful and honestly pretty tough lesson about who sticks around when things get dark, a truth that tends to show up right when we need people the most.
Wow, that's a heavy statement, right? But for the person who said this, it wasn't just some cynical phrase. It was a painful reality they learned firsthand as a kid. So let's really get into the story behind these words.
So let's start with this whole idea of true colors. This story is just a perfect, almost brutal example of how a huge change in your life can suddenly reveal what the people you thought you knew are really like.
Okay, so to really get the impact of this lesson, we have to go back to the beginning. Back to a time when things were good, a time of prosperity where the house was always packed with people, with laughter and just this warmth of family all around.
And this, right here, this really says it all, doesn't it? It's the before and after of this whole experience, laid out plain and simple. On one side, you've got a world of support, and on the other, just silence. That contrast, that is the very heart of the story we're digging into. So what did the good times actually look like? Well, for starters, the family was very well off. But more importantly, the father was alive. He was kind of the center of gravity for everyone. Relatives were always over, the house was always buzzing with people and energy. It really seemed like the perfect picture of a super close, supportive family.
And then, just like that, everything changed. The loss of the father wasn't just a devastating emotional blow. It was the single event that would completely unravel their world and show just how fragile those relationships really were.
So, that brings us to the aftermath, the part where nothing was left. With the father gone, the family was suddenly facing this totally new, harsh reality. The money, the stability, that social hub he created, it all just vanished. And everything else was about to vanish right along with it.
What's so shocking is how fast it happened. I mean, this wasn't some slow fade, it was like a switch was flipped. The visitors just stopped coming. The house that was always so full and loud went completely silent. The family was left totally, utterly alone to deal with their grief in this vacuum. And it's from this really painful personal story that a much bigger, more universal lesson comes out. This part is about that bitter truth, that difficult pill to swallow about human nature that this person was forced to learn as a child.
You know, the most heartbreaking part of this whole thing isn't just that people disappeared. It's the absence of a single basic human question. It just highlights this profound lack of care that's so much deeper than just being busy or forgetful.
And there it is. Think about that. In the face of this unimaginable loss, not one person picked up the phone to ask this grieving widow, this mother, the most basic human things. How are you going to get by? How are you possibly going to raise your kids alone? This wasn't just about people not visiting. This was a complete and total failure of basic empathy.
You know, there's actually a name for this kind of thing: conditional support. It's basically when affection and presence are tied to what you have or who you are in that moment. As soon as those conditions change, the money's gone, the status is gone, so is the support. And that was the bitter truth this family had to learn.
So as we start to wrap this up, let's turn this powerful lesson around and think about it for ourselves with one final thought. And this is really the core of it all. We have that old saying, tough times build character. But maybe that's not quite right. Maybe tough times don't build character, they reveal it. For this family, all that hardship did was pull back the curtain on relationships they once thought were rock solid.
Which leaves us all with this question to think about, right? It's so easy to feel surrounded by people when everything's going great, but this story really forces us to think deeper. Who are the people that would not only show up, but would be the ones asking you the hard questions when you literally have nothing left to offer? Who sees you and not just what you have? That, at the end of the day, is the real test.